Why a shocking Avengers Endgame death is the final insult for one Marvel character. Warning: this piece contains spoilers for the plot of Avengers Endgame and other films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel fans have been bracing for an onslaught of emotions as comes to cinemas. For months that has indeed proved the case, even though many of our assumptions about who would live and who would die turned out to be wrong. And is sure to leave audiences shaken, stirred, and in need of a discreet sob. Yet not all the shock. Warning: this piece contains spoilers for the plot of Avengers Endgame and other films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel fans have been bracing for an onslaught of emotions as comes to cinemas. For months that has indeed proved the case, even though many of our assumptions about who would live and who would die turned out to be wrong. And is sure to leave audiences shaken, stirred, and in need of a discreet sob. Yet not all the heartstrings were likewise plucked with aplomb as Steve Rogers absconded into a parallel dimension to grow old with Peggy Carter. Not a demise, technically, but still a definitive exit from the superhero business for Captain America. The death of Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, Betty contrast impacted with a thud. It did so in an yet it barely caused a ripple in the packed cinema where I saw Endgame. Natasha plunged. That may speak to Black Widow's second-tier status within the Avengers. You always really about the power trio of Iron Man and Thor. But it was nonetheless more than that. It was the latest in a succession of fumbles by Marvel with Black Widow. Marvel never seemed, to her credit, the actress has succeeded in the face of often squirm-inducing dialogue, especially in Avengers Age of Ultron, as we shall see. Later, Marvel female Black Widow in the comics is, it should be pointed out, different from the one on screen. One major chain, comic book Natalia cut quite a figure. Her early costume, but regardless of her romances or who she is fighting for, in the comics Black Widow is a character in control of her destiny and ill-inclined to pander to society's expectations. That is very different. Marvel's Black Widow problems came to a head during the promotional campaign for 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron. Amid the deluge of "Marvel, we need more Black Widow merchandise for my daughters and nieces," he tweeted. Pretty please. The sentiments were well-intentioned, though many pointed out that sons and nephews might have appreciated some Black Widow swag too. However, that Ultron has gone down as one of the weakest Marvel movies and may indeed have been unwatchable were it not for James Spader's entirely in on the joke turn as the eponymous killer robot. In Black Widow's, Natasha has been having flashbacks to the Red Room, where she was brainwashed into becoming a killing machine, and tells Banner neither of them are quite human. Then come a zinger. The way the words tumbled out of Johansson's mouth made it appear as if her character was equating an inability to have children with monstrousness. Whedon is widely admired as creator of the groundbreaking Buffy and seemed truly hurt by the backlash. And indeed the MC, creepier yet, he does so in the presence of Pepper Potts, with whom he later has a daughter. Potts tells him, Black Widow is thus initially defined by her sexual allure. Later, fixing Tony Stark a martini, she silkily inquires whether the drink is dirty enough for him, and if this is quickly proved a feint on her part, she dazzles her prey, then stings. It nevertheless was a queasy way for Marvel to introduce its first fully fledged female superhero. Worse yet, even when Marvel gets past the fact that Black Widow is portrayed by an actress with Hollywood-grade looks, it never works out quite what it wants her to be. In Ultron she's, yet that's entirely different character from the hard-charging, wisecracking, thoroughly non-sexual Lisa Foyle she plays opposite Captain America in Winter Soldier. And in Endgame, thanks to Johansson's cool charisma, Black Widow has won a substantial following. Twitter analysis suggests she was the second most popular character in the original Avengers movie, leading to clamors for her to be given her own movie. A standalone, director Berlin Syndrome's Kate Shortland has even been attached, along with screenwriter, J.A.C. Schaffer. Yet with Black Widow, Johansson herself has gone back and forth, saying there is a ticking clock on her willingness to be involved. If I did it, I think it would just have to be very much like its own specific thing. It would have to have it. Whether that reality can still come to pass is unclear. Still, What? Just compare Johansson's low burn magnetism with the stuttering performance of Brie Larson. As she seems confused whether she is supposed to take the MCU all that seriously for a sense how difficult these caped shenanigans are to pull off. That Black Widow. Copyright Telegraph Media Group Limited 2019.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.